Connecting a portable generator to a single-family dwelling requires careful attention to safety and adherence to the National Electrical Code, specifically Article 445, which covers generators. Article 702 pertains to essential electrical systems and healthcare facilities and does not apply here. The most crucial aspect of this installation is the transfer switch. Firstly, a transfer switch is absolutely required to isolate the dwelling's electrical system from the utility power grid when the generator is in operation. This isolation is paramount to prevent backfeeding, which can create extremely dangerous situations for utility workers and can also damage your generator. Secondly, backfeeding can occur if the generator is allowed to send power back into the utility lines while they're being worked on, and this can lead to electrocution. Thirdly, the transfer switch ensures that only one power source, either the utility or the generator, can supply power to the selected circuits at any given time. To connect the generator, firstly, use a heavy-duty extension cord with appropriate ampacity for the generator's output. Secondly, ensure that the cord is in good condition, free from any cuts or damage to the insulation. Thirdly, connect the generator's output receptacle to the inlet of the transfer switch. Next, the grounding is a critical safety measure. Firstly, connect the generator's grounding terminal to the existing ground rod electrode using a copper conductor. The size of this conductor must be determined according to NEC Table 250.122, which specifies grounding conductor sizes based on the overcurrent protective device rating for the circuit. Secondly, the ground rod provides a path for fault current to return to the source, which helps to trip the circuit breaker or fuse and clear the fault, protecting people and equipment. Thirdly, it is crucial to verify that the ground rod is properly installed and in good contact with the earth. To maintain isolation, you must ensure that the transfer switch or circuit breaker has a manual isolation mechanism. This prevents the unintentional connection between normal power and generator power. Firstly, this can be achieved using a lockout-tagout device, which physically prevents the breaker from being switched on. Secondly, a mechanical interlock is another option. This interlock physically prevents both the main breaker and the generator breaker from being on at the same time. Most load center manufacturers offer replacement breakers specifically designed for manual isolation between normal and standby power. These breakers will lock in the off position when the generator is connected and prevent the normal circuit breaker from being turned on. This locking mechanism adds an extra layer of safety and ensures that there is no chance of backfeeding. Here are the steps for manually connecting the generator. Firstly, disconnect the main breaker in the dwelling's electrical panel. This ensures that the house is completely isolated from the utility power grid. Secondly, activate the transfer switch to isolate the electrical system from utility power. This step physically separates the house wiring from the incoming power lines. Thirdly, connect the generator to the transfer switch using the heavy-duty extension cord and start it. Fourthly, once the generator is running and producing power, close the generator's main breaker to start supplying power to the transfer switch. Fifthly, turn on the required circuit breakers on the transfer switch to energize the designated loads. Only power the circuits that are essential during a power outage to avoid overloading the generator. Now let's talk about safety precautions. Firstly, never operate a generator indoors or in enclosed spaces. Generators produce carbon monoxide, which is a colorless, odorless gas that can be deadly. Secondly, always operate the generator in a well-ventilated area, away from windows, doors, and vents that could allow carbon monoxide to enter the house. Thirdly, follow the manufacturer's instructions for safe operation. The manufacturer's manual contains important information about the generator's operation, maintenance, and safety. Fourthly, keep the generator away from flammable materials. Gasoline and other flammable liquids can ignite if they come into contact with the hot surfaces of the generator. Fifthly, use caution when connecting the generator to avoid electrical shock. Make sure that your hands are dry and that you are standing on a dry surface. Sixthly, never bypass the transfer switch or isolation device. These devices are essential for preventing backfeeding and ensuring safe operation. Now let us discuss some additional considerations when selecting a transfer switch. Firstly, determine the power requirements of the circuits that you want to power with the generator. This will help you select a transfer switch with the appropriate amperage rating. Secondly, choose a transfer switch that is compatible with your generator. Some transfer switches are designed to work with specific types of generators. Thirdly, consider the ease of installation and use. Some transfer switches are easier to install and use than others. There are two main types of transfer switches: manual and automatic. A manual transfer switch requires you to manually switch between utility power and generator power. An automatic transfer switch automatically switches to generator power when it detects a power outage. Automatic transfer switches are more convenient, but they are also more expensive. When selecting a breaker, understand that load center manufacturers offer replacement breakers designed specifically for manual isolation between normal and standby power. Firstly, these breakers will lock in the off position when the generator is connected, preventing the normal circuit breaker from being turned on. Secondly, this locking mechanism adds an extra layer of safety and ensures that there is no chance of backfeeding. When grounding the generator, understand that the size of the grounding conductor is determined by NEC Table 250.122, which specifies grounding conductor sizes based on the overcurrent protected device rating for the circuit. If you are using a 20 amp circuit breaker, you will need a number 12 American wire gauge copper grounding conductor. If you are using a 30 amp circuit breaker, you will need a number 10 American wire gauge copper grounding conductor. If you are using a 60 amp circuit breaker, you will need a number 8 American wire gauge copper grounding conductor. Regarding safety, remember that carbon monoxide is a serious hazard. Firstly, install carbon monoxide detectors in your home, especially near sleeping areas. Secondly, test the carbon monoxide detectors regularly to ensure that they are working properly. Thirdly, if you start to feel sick or dizzy while the generator is running, immediately turn off the generator and get fresh air. In terms of generator placement, position it so that the exhaust fumes are directed away from the house and any nearby structures. Secondly, ensure that the generator is placed on a level surface to prevent it from tipping over. Thirdly, protect the generator from the elements, such as rain and snow, to prevent damage. For connecting the generator, inspect the extension cord before each use to ensure that it is in good condition. Secondly, do not use extension cords that are damaged or frayed. Thirdly, use extension cords that are rated for outdoor use. If you are not comfortable performing the electrical work yourself, hire a qualified electrician to install the transfer switch and connect the generator. Electricity can be dangerous, and it is important to take all necessary precautions. Let's discuss generator maintenance. Firstly, regularly inspect the generator for any signs of damage or wear. Secondly, change the oil according to the manufacturer's recommendations. Thirdly, clean or replace the air filter as needed. Fourthly, check the spark plug and replace it if necessary. Fifthly, store the generator in a dry, protected location when it is not in use. Finally, always consult the generator's owner's manual for specific maintenance instructions. By following these steps and taking the necessary safety precautions, you can safely and effectively connect a portable generator to a single-family dwelling. This information is for educational purposes only and should not be considered a substitute for professional advice. Always consult with a qualified electrician before performing any electrical work.